Hello, A Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. That's the poem we are going to be discussing today. Let me tell this to you right at the outset कि ये काफी complicated poem है. So what I will do to make it easier for you, and I hope there aren't too many students who do not understand Hindi at all, I'm going to explain a bit of it in Hindi. I've written very elaborate notes for this, which you will find extremely useful. So the notes are there, and I've written it in a language which you should use in your examinations also. The kind of words, the kind of tone and the language that is to be used in the answers in order to score full marks. Formal kind of language, because this poem is also a little formal in its appeal. Now, what is the poem about? The poem is about the struggle and the helplessness. यानी कि एक जो रूरल एरियाज में, ग्रामीण इलाकों में, इन द रूरल एरियाज द काइंड ऑफ फीलिंग दे हैव कि जिस तरह का एहसास होता है कि सारी सुविधाएं सिर्फ शहर वालों को मिलती है, गांव वालों को नहीं मिलती है, किसान को नहीं मिलती है. सो इट इज दैट बेसिक डिस्पैरिटी दैट दिस पोएम इज एसेंशियली फोकसिंग ऑन in the America of his times, that is in which Robert Frost wrote. Robert Frost, let me tell you, all his poems are generally extremely complex. Okay, they are not easy poems at all. So it took me almost 1.5 days to research and write down the notes, explanation points of each and every line. So it is an extremely complex poem. तो इस बात का ध्यान जरूर रखिए. So basically the talk is about रोडसाइड पे जब गांव वाले किसान कुछ अपनी बिक्री करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जो भी उन्होंने प्रोड्यूस किया है, और उसके लिए कोई खरीदार नहीं आते हैं शहरों से, हु आर वेरी सेल्फिश एंड वेरी सेल्फ सेंटर्ड, कि वो सिर्फ अपने बारे में सोचते हैं. तो उस बारे में ये पर्टिकुलर पोएम है. ओके, सो द इट्स सेटिंग इज इन अ रूरल काइंड ऑफ एन एरिया, and the roadside stand, the title comes from the stand, the stall that a farmer has put up on the side of the road. So it's pretty literal in its meaning in that sense. So there are a lot of images of poverty, there are images of despair, there are images of feeling very helpless, उस तरह का एहसास कि कुछ हो नहीं सकता है. और इसमें कई सारे वर्ड्स हैं जिसको कि मैं पॉइंट आउट करूंगा, जिसका कि आप इस्तेमाल अपने आंसर्स में कीजिए अगर आपको पूछा गया कि इस पोएम का एनालिसिस कीजिए. There are other kinds of interesting questions which I will put in the question and answer session. So it is a very irregular stanza. ऐसा नहीं है कि each stanza is of 4 lines or 6 lines. ऐसा very irregular stanza formation as far as Robert Frost is concerned. So that is what this particular poem is about. तो नोट्स को जरूर देखिए, नोट्स को साइड में रखिए, वीडियो पहले एक्सप्लेनेशन सुन लीजिए, उसके बाद नोट्स को देखिए, अपने पोएम को साइड में रखिए. यू विल बी एबल टू एक्सप्लेन, बिकॉज एज आई सेड द नोट्स आर एक्सट्रीमली डिटेल्ड. The little old house was out with a little new shed. Okay, so the moment you hear the word little, छोटा, यानी कि आपको एक तरह के, छोटापन थोड़ा अजीब वर्ड हो जाएगा, you kind of get, you get a sense of the fact that they don't have much. It is a little old house, little and old. पुराना घर है, छोटा घर है, and the shed is new, but that's also a little shed. So there is a sense of very meager kind of a asset, कि बहुत ही छोटा घर है और एक shed भी काफी छोटा है. In front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. So there is a sense of rhyming out here, shed and sped. So basically, the first stanza is describing a small roadside shed that has been set near an old house, which is also extremely little. It is on the edge of a very busy kind of a highway, a road, okay, where the traffic is going at very high speed. So sped. So sped is kind of conveying a sense of momentum, a sense of speed, a sense of, that this place is a happening place. The urban, the cars, the traffic is kind of representing a very happening kind of a situation and a place. Now, who has put up that particular stand? A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. Pled means it's coming from the word pleading. Okay, though pled is not a very commonly used kind of tense form, but it is kind of pleading. So in contrast to the sped, which is kind of going past very quickly, while these people are pleading, and pleading how? In a very pathetic manner. So it's kind of lending a sense of sadness. It is lending a sense of pathos. Please mark these two words, which you can use in your answer. So pathetically comes from the word pathos, and it is pleading. So you get a sense of two worlds. One world which is not bothered because the traffic is going by very fast. Haven't you seen, कहीं शहरों में होता है, आप अपनी गाड़ी में जा रहे हैं, साइड में कोई beggar होगा या कोई somebody will be there who will be asking for alms, right? You don't bother. So look at it from his point of view. He is pleading with the people in a very pathetic manner because his situation is very pathetic, while the traffic is going past very fast, right? That is precisely the situation, pretty much the same out here, except that these are not beggars. They are farmers who want to make a living by selling their goods. Okay, so I'm just gave that example to kind of make you understand out there, right? So the setting of the poem is the little old house, the little new shed, and that's where, and the little new shed represents what? Ummeed, hope. It is representing hope, that a hope for the future, that they would be able to make some money, earn some money by selling what they have out at this shed, which is constructed outside their house. It will help them make a living. The word spread is kind of providing you with the contrast. Now, it is pleading for customers, but it is kind of desperate for customers. It is desperate for some kind of attention, and but nothing seems to be happening. So here, if you see an important poetic device which has been used out here, an important poetic device is that of personification, which has been used out here by Robert Frost. Pathetically pled, it is a personification that a roadside stand, they're not saying farmers, the roadside stand itself is kind of pleading in a very pathetic manner. So it is personifying the roadside stand. It is desperate for attention. There is, of course, vivid imagery in terms of the shed and the traffic going. So you are able to imagine a setting. आपके दिमाग में एक particular setting आ गई होगी, the way the first 3-4 lines have been described, and the rhyme scheme is AB, at least at the beginning of the poem. It is not consistent, but generally, largely, it is AB. It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. Dole is something which is given away, it's a giveaway karke, he lives on doles of the rich people, यानी कि जो rich people देते हैं उस पर उसका गुजारा चलता है. So dole is used in that sense. So but for some of the money, the cash whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. Now what does it mean? Now he's talking about the economic interdependence, okay, of the rural areas and the urban areas of America of his time. So he's saying that he's not asking for charity. The farmer is not asking for any kind of charity from the urban dweller, but he wants to sell his produce and earn a living by making money on that produce. So he says that the money is what supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. Now, what is this flower of cities that we are talking about? It is being used out here as a metaphor. It is a metaphor because just like the flowers are prevented from withering, फूल मुरझाए नहीं, उसके लिए क्या करना पड़ता है? You have to take care of it. You have to flower the plant. You have to add manure. You have to loosen up the soil. You have to add fertilizers. You have to ensure that there are no pests. So you take care that the plant flowers, right? Similarly, the cash flow which the cities have, the riches that the cities have, the economic prosperity that the cities have, they kind of help, the cash flow helps the cities to flourish by preventing any kind of business failure. So there is always cash moving around in the cities, and that ensures that no business actually fails. So the flower of cities is a metaphor for the source of, the money that kind of keeps the cities going. The roadside farmer, the farmer who has set up that roadside stand, does not want bread. He does not want to say for, it would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. Usko charity nahi chahiye ki, tumko bhuk lagi, okay, eat some bread. No, he wants to live honorably by earning money in an honorable manner by selling his produce to the people who have come from the cities, but for some of the money. It would not be fair to say for a dole, usko dole nahi chahiye, but for some of the money, the cash is what he wants, because he knows the cash flow is what supports the flower of cities, the economy of the city, the economic engine of the cities from sinking. It ensures that the cities do not sink by ensuring that the flower by the cash flow keeps moving and withering faint. Withering means murjha jana, that is basically wither away, just kind of melt away. That's what this thing. So he's trying to point out. So what have the lines so far pointed out? They have pointed out the disparity between the urban and the rural areas. They have pointed out that this fellow is feeling very strong. The money that keeps your cities going, I also want that, but I don't want your charity. I don't want any kind of alms. I want to also live by earning money in an honorable manner. So there is a disparity of the economic system that kind of favors the cities, कि शहरों को ज्यादा प्राथमिकता दी जाती है. It is preferred over the rural areas. I hope it's clear till now. The first 6 lines of this poem. Let's move to the next set, which is 7th to 15th lines. The polished traffic passed with a mind ahead, if ever aside a moment, then out of sorts at having the landscape marred with the artless paint. So now he's talking about the reaction, कि किस तरह की प्रतिक्रिया रहती है city dwellers की towards the roadside stand. When they see the roadside stand, how do they react? Okay, so the traffic is described as polished. Adjective polished used for the traffic which is going past with a mind ahead. Mind ahead mean उसको मालूम है कि हमको सीधा ही जाना है. अरे साइड में कोई रोडसाइड स्टैंड पड़ा हुआ है रोड पे, हमको क्या फर्क पड़ता है? No, our mind is on our destination, so we are going ahead. They are focused. The driver, whoever is driving the car, is focused on the destination that he or she has to reach. They are not interested in stopping by the roadside stand. If ever aside a moment, then out of sorts at having the landscape marred with the artless paint. अगर by chance, एक तो ये है कि डेस्टिनेशन पे फोकस है, तो इधर उधर नहीं देखते हैं, इधर उधर परवाह नहीं है, लेकिन बाय चांस उन्होंने इधर नजर फेर ली, इन केस इफ दे सी ऑन टू देयर राइट साइड और लेफ्ट साइड, वेरेवर द रोड साइड स्टैंड इज, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द डायरेक्शन ऑफ द ट्रैफिक, इन दैट केस दे काइंड ऑफ feel a little uncomfortable, out of sorts means they are little uncomfortable, and they don't particularly appreciate the fact that the landscape is marred with artless. Marred means खराब हुआ लैंडस्केप, मतलब उस वहां का जो सीनरी है, वहां का सीनरी खराब हुआ पड़ा है by the artless paint. जो पेंटिंग की गई है रोड साइड स्टैंड के ऊपर, वो काफी आर्टलेस है, उसमें कोई प्रतिभा नहीं है, उसमें किसी भी तरह का एक सुंदरता नहीं है. There is no beauty in the way the thing has been painted, because the signs रोड साइड स्टैंड में जो शब्द लिखे गए हैं, ओके, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, लेट्स से द वर्ड स्टैंड, ओके, ये लिखा होगा ना, लेकिन इट सेज द साइंस दैट विद एन टर्न रॉन्ग, ओके, सो एन को शायद ऐसे के बजाय ऐसे लिख दिया होगा, ओके, इट हैज नॉट बीन रिटन प्रॉपरली, एंड एस टर्न रॉन्ग, एस को शायद ऐसे लिख दिया होगा, सॉरी ऐसे लिख दिया होगा. So you realize that these people have not done a good job of even marketing and branding their roadside stand. और उसको देख के जो लोग ट्रैफिक में वैसे ही जल्दबाजी में जा रहे हैं, अगर बाय चांस इस तरफ देख भी लें, they will realize कि क्या है ये, तो it's very artless. इन्होंने एक बेसिक थिंग, अपना नाम भी ठीक से नहीं लिखा है. So that's what he's talking about out here. So it shows that the people who are running that stand are either not concerned about their appearance, कि वो किस तरह से दिखते हैं उस पर उन्होंने ज्यादा गौर नहीं किया, उसकी ज्यादा परवाह नहीं की, or they are incapable of kind of making it look good. It could be either of the two situations. Offered for sale wild berries in wooden quarts. Now what is he saying? Talking about that he would be quarts are bottles or some kind of containers. Now what are they selling? बेर, जो जंगली बेर मिलते हैं, ऑब्वियसली ग्रामीण इलाका है, सो वहां पर वाइल्ड बेरीज इन वुडन क्वार्ट्स इज व्हाट दे सेल, ओके। और क्रूक नेक्ड गोल्डन स्क्वाश विद सिल्वर वॉट्स, या squash is a vegetable again which is sold. So crook neck, they're just talking about the kind of shape of the containers. Squash with silver watts, or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene. You have the money, but if you want to be mean. So he's saying that beauty rest is a talking about the countryside, which obviously always looks very beautiful, be it in America, be it in Europe, or be it even in India. There is a certain beauty to the rural landscape, to the village landscape. जिस तरह से दिखता है, पहाड़ होंगे, नदी होगी, झरना होगा, stream of water will be there. There is a certain element of natural beauty which is associated with the rural landscape, unlike a city where all buildings more or less look pretty much the same, है ना? So he's saying, or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene. So there is mountains and there is some kind of a natural countryside beauty. Okay, so he says there the city dwellers who are going past, they can actually take rest and just enjoy the beauty of the country landscape. So he's saying that, so he's kind of feeling a little frustrated. Rukte nahi ho. Okay, when you glance, this is how you look at it. You don't kind of take a moment out to enjoy the beauty of the rural landscape, which is also he's offering. You can rest, and while you are buying something, you can appreciate the thing. You can take a few moments off the traffic and just generally rest and be there in that tranquil kind of an atmosphere. So he's kind of feeling quite frustrated. So he's saying that you have the money, कि पैसा तुम्हारे पास है, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money this costly and go long? You keep this thing and you keep kind of going along. Costly means he's kind of expressing his annoyance, जो उसको गुस्सा है उसको express कर रहा है. The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. So he's talking about he will not mind if the city dwellers who are going past in their vehicles damage the scenery with the cars. He would not mind that. But the fact that they're trusting sorrow of what is said. What does this mean, trusting sorrow? It kind of conveys that the speaker is feeling usko dhoka hua hai city dwellers se. He feels betrayed by the city dwellers. He said that he had hope. उसको उम्मीद थी कि किसान को उम्मीद थी कि जो वो बेचने जा रहा है उसमें सिटी ड्वेलर्स को किसी तरह की दिलचस्पी होगी. They would be interested in the produce that he has put it out for selling, and in the beauty of the countryside, also in the beauty. So he's saying two things: that the city dwellers who seem to be in a great hurry and very focused on reaching their destination, he had hoped, he had assumed that they would be interested, one, in the produce that he's selling, the two, three things that I mentioned, the squash, the vegetables, the wild berries, etc., and also the beauty of the countryside, they would be interested in. लेकिन अभी उसको ये एहसास हो गया है कि इन लोगों को किसी भी चीज में दिलचस्पी नहीं है. Even if they glance, sometimes they only look at the mistakes that have been made in the painting of the artless signs on his shop, on his roadside stand. Okay, so therefore he feels that there is a betrayal. There is a betrayal of the trust. He had that trust कि उनको इस पे इंटरेस्ट होगा, लेकिन उसको अब ये एहसास हो जाता है कि they have absolutely no interest. So he feels that they are trusting sorrow of what could have been a mutually beneficial relationship. ये जो रिश्ता था, इससे उनको भी फायदा होता. किस तरह से फायदा होता? वो खरीदने के लिए आते और उस ब्यूटी को एंजॉय करते. इसका फायदा होता क्योंकि उसको उसके बदले में कुछ पैसे मिलते. So it could have been a mutually beneficial relationship. He's not talking about कि वो इसके ऊपर एहसान कर रहे हैं. He does not think that they're doing him a favor, but he thinks it could have been a mutually beneficial relationship. Please mark this. Okay. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand. So he is saying that, we thought that, we would kind of sell our wares and get some city money in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the life of the moving pictures promise. So he's saying that if it will not if it will not make our being expand, that it will not make our life feel better, and give us the life of the moving pictures promise. Moving pictures is a reference to the movies. So जिस तरह की बातें मूवीज में बताई जाती हैं, उसी तरह की जिंदगी हमारे भी हो सकती थी, उस तरह का प्रॉमिस हमारा भी फुलफिल हो सकता था अगर वो थोड़े से बात चीजें खरीदते और हमारे हाथों में थोड़ा शहर का पैसा रखते. That the party in power is said to be keeping from us. Now this is a political statement that he is making. Okay, that he is making a political statement that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. He is meaning to say that this is reference to the government, okay, the ruling party. So he says that the government is keeping the good life away from people like him. कि सरकार ये कोशिश कर रही है कि ये अच्छी जिंदगी हम कभी भी एक्सपीरियंस ना कर पाए. ये अच्छी जिंदगी सिर्फ शहर वालों के लिए है, गांव वालों के लिए नहीं है, हमारे जैसे किसानों के लिए नहीं है. ये अच्छी जिंदगी सिर्फ शहर वालों के लिए है ताकि वो एंजॉय करें. सो ही इज अगेन पॉइंटिंग टू द इकोनॉमिक डिस्पैरिटी बिटवीन द पीपल इन द सिटीज एंड द पीपल इन द countryside, in the rural areas of America. So he says, he's basically meaning to say that the government is in the hands of the rich and the wealthy who live in the urban cities, in the urban pockets of America, and they are not interested in helping the poor or the working class like him. Okay, यहां तक समझ में आ गया. Now we will move to stanza 2. ये एक बड़ा सा चंक की तरह लिखा हुआ है जिसको कि मैंने 3 पार्ट्स में किया है. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theater and the store. So now he is saying that उसने पढ़ा है, स्पीकर ने पढ़ा है कि सरकार ये प्लान कर रही है, the government is planning to buy out all the rural families and relocate them to villages which are there on the outskirts of the cities, ताकि वो शहरों के पेरिफेरी में रहें. तो स्पीकर का ये मानना है, इट इज इन द न्यूज, कि उसने ये पढ़ा है, ही हैज हर्ड अबाउट इट, दैट ऑल दिस पिटीफुल किन, जो गांव में रहते हैं, आर टू बी बॉट आउट, उनको खरीदा जाएगा, उनकी लैंड सब ले ली जाएगी, एंड दे विल बी रीलोकेटेड एंड मर्सीफुली गैदर्ड, यानी कि एज दो द सरकार, एज दो द गवर्नमेंट इज डूइंग देम सम काइंड ऑफ ए फेवर, मर्सीफुली गैदर्ड इन टू लिव इन विलेजेस नेक्स्ट टू द थिएटर एंड द स्टोर. जो अर्बन पॉकेट्स है ना, अर्बन एरिया, सिटीज आर मार्क्ड बाय द मूवी थिएटर्स एंड द सुपरमार्केट्स, राइट. सो उसके आसपास के गांवों में रहने के लिए उनको रीलोकेट किया जाएगा, वेयर दे वोंट हैव टू थिंक फॉर देमसेल्व्स एनीमोर, जहां पर उनको अपनी परवाह करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. ओके, तो ये एक तरह का दे आर ट्राइंग टू बी काइंड टू देम. सो दिस इज देयर वे, इंस्टेड ऑफ डूइंग व्हाट ही वांट्स, दैट दे कम टू द विलेजेस एंड बाय दैट स्टफ, he says that the government is planning to relocate them to places, to villages which are on the periphery of the cities. Okay, because, and that he feels is some kind of an exploitation, because unki azadi छूट जाएगी. Okay, they don't have to think for themselves anymore, while greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits. So he calls them greedy good doers. Now this is a very powerful phrase. Use it in your answers, that this is how he perceives them, that these people, the government and the people who they represent, the city dwellers, are greedy good doers. वो सोच रहे हैं कि हम अच्छा कर रहे हैं. And this is also an oxymoron. Oxymoron का मतलब समझते हो, कि दो अलग अलग शब्दों का इस्तेमाल एक साथ किया जाए और वो थोड़ा अटपटा सा लगता है. Good doers means जो अच्छा करे, greedy मतलब लालची. So if someone is doing good, how can he be greedy? And if someone is greedy, can he do any good? So he is putting this together and he is trying to tell you that उनके मन में ये एहसास है, they think that they are good doers, but in reality they are actually greedy people, because they are thinking only about their own interests. So it is exploitation of one kind. So beneficent beasts of prey, this is another powerful phrase, calling them beasts of prey, कि उनको एक तरह से is almost calling them rakshas in a way. Okay, so he's trying to say that this is exploitation that is going to take place, because that will completely deprive them of their way of life, their independence, swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits. So they will kind of swarm over their lives. It's powerful imagery. This is what the poet feels about this relocation plan from the rural areas to the urban side. So he says that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits. So you make them believe that it is being done for them, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. Ancient way is that the way they were living their life all these years, right? So that's the traditional life, and that is going to be destroyed by these forces of modernization. ये आधुनिक तरीके से लिखने जीवन व्यतीत करने वाली की जो एक तरह की जो प्रैक्टिस है, वो एंशिएंट वे, द ट्रेडिशनल वे को पूरी तरह से नष्ट कर देगी. एंड दिस वे the countryside will lose their connection with the land and their entire heritage. They're calculated to soothe. They're calculated. They have thought about it very clearly. Soothe them out of their beds. कि उनकी जो अभी की जो जीवन शैली है, the kind of life that they lead now, to kind of get them out of it, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day. That you can kind of be here and do whatever. So they are trying to program them into a different kind of life, which is very different from the kind of life they have led in the ancient way. Sometimes I feel myself, I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. So इससे एक बात तो पता चल जाती है कि the Robert Frost was completely against the rural relocation plan, and he was kind of very upset about this economic disparity and what the government was trying to do in order to favor the city dwellers. Because all these people were there, what they will do with their land, this happens not just in America, in any part of the world. Sometimes I feel myself, I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. Now, he says that he's kind of feeling frustrated that, at the plight of the rural people, जिस तरह की परिस्थिति ग्रामीण इलाकों में रहने वाले लोगों की है, okay, people who run the roadside stand, he's kind of feeling very frustrated thinking about them. Childish longing is reference to the very futile expectation कि वो उम्मीद में है, जो गांव वाले हैं, they are in futile expectation कि हमारा कुछ भला होगा, हमारे अच्छे दिन आएंगे, right? लेकिन अच्छे दिन नहीं आ रहे हैं. Okay, so he's saying that they are suffering. They are waiting for the customer to appear, but the relocation plan is the only other alternative which is presented to them, which is not going to make them happy, which is going to uproot them from their natural place, their ancient way. That's going to uproot them and bring them to another place and program to live life in a way that the city dwellers and the government wants them to live. So he says that the cars, they thought of so much childish longing in vain. The sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits always in almost open prayer. So they are hoping for some kind of a more positive change, because they are feeling very sad, which is lurking. Lurking also is like, it's there, it's a very sad kind of a feeling out there near the window. Okay, for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the 1,000 selfish cars that pass. Selfish, why? Because they are obsessed only with what they want. They are not bothered about these guys. The squeal of brakes, जब ब्रेक लगता है और एक कार रुकता है, उनको उम्मीद होती है कि शायद कुछ खरीदने के लिए आ रहा है. लेकिन अगर 1000 सेल्फिश कार्स जो पास होती हैं, उसमें से एक भी रुकता है in order to inquire something from that दुकान, from the farmers, to just want to inquire कि farmer के prices क्या है, किस दाम पर बेच रहा है. And one did stop, एक गाड़ी रुकी, लेकिन वो सिर्फ वहां की जो घास थी उसको और खराब करके चली गई, इन यूजिंग द यार्ड टू बैकअप, बिकॉज उन नीचे पीछे रिवर्स करके गाड़ी टर्न करने के लिए रुकी. एंड अनदर टू आस्क द वे टू वेयर इट वाज बाउंड, कि आगे का डेस्टिनेशन कैसा है, जीपीएस काम नहीं कर रहा होगा. और एक तीसरी गाड़ी पूछी कि वेयर दे कुड सेल इट अ गैलन ऑफ गैस, की पेट्रोल कहां से मिलेगा, राइट? दे कुडंट. This Crossley is, he's very angry now, he's very annoyed. They had none, didn't it see? उनको ये दिखा नहीं क्या कि इनके पास पेट्रोल नहीं है, तो यहां से पेट्रोल के बारे में पूछने से फायदा क्या? So you see, the people who are stopping also, they are stopping either to reverse or to ask कि दाम क्या है, or to ask कि पेट्रोल बंक कहां है. So basically, या तुम्हारे पास पेट्रोल है क्या? So basically things which are not really directly connected, or they do not do any good to the farmer who is running the roadside stand. No, in country money, the country scale of gain. Now, so the childish longing wala hai, तो basically the people's longing has been compared to a childish. बच्चा सोचता है ना कि अरे मेरे को नया खिलौना चाहिए. There is a childish longing for it, right? Because not really aware of what will happen. So there is an expectation. So the farmer's longing for city money has also been compared in that sense to a childish longing. Okay, so he's very dismissive of these people who stop for their own selfish reasons. So now he draws a line between city money, जो शहर का पैसा है, and the country, यानी कि country money means जो गांव का पैसा है. So he says the country scale of gain. Country scale of gain का मतलब है the required quantity of money. कि कितने पैसे की जरूरत है is different from that of the city. जो the requisite lift of in country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found, or so the voice of the country seems to complain. जो the country scale of gain यानी कि जितना पैसा रूरल एरियाज में उसकी जरूरत पड़ती है, it is different from that of the city क्योंकि स्टैंडर्ड्स काफी अलग है. अगर आपका 100 रुपए में गुजारा हो जाता है एक ग्रामीण इलाके में, 100 रुपए में आपका गुजारा एक शहर में नहीं हो पाएगा, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली द नीड्स एंड द स्केल इज वेरी डिफरेंट. बिकॉज ऑफ दिस लो स्टैंडर्ड्स इन द रूरल एरियाज, द कंट्री स्केल ऑफ गेन यानी कि रूरल एरियाज स्केल ऑफ गेन कैन नॉट प्रोवाइड द लिफ्ट ऑफ स्पिरिट यानी कि हैप्पीनेस, खुशी. लिफ्ट ऑफ स्पिरिट मीन्स लिफ्टिंग ऑफ द स्पिरिट, द हैप्पीनेस, द जॉय, द प्लेजर. It cannot ever provide because they are earning only to meet their daily needs. जितना कमाते हैं उससे उस दिन का ही गुजारा हो पाता है. The requisite lift of spirit has never been found. एक खुशी कभी भी they have not been able to experience it, or so the voice of the country seems to complain. और इस तरह की कंप्लेन गांव वालों की तरफ से हमेशा आती है. Okay, I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. And now he's suggesting something very drastic. He's saying that I wish, because he's very upset, the poet. He says, मैं चाहता हूं कि किसी ना किसी तरह से इन गांव वालों की पूरी मुसीबत एक स्ट्रोक पे पूरी तरह से खत्म हो जाए. I could put them out of their pain in one stroke. So he's empathizing with the peasant farmer. लेकिन and this could be a reference to either killing them or suicide or something, but he says lekin usi ye कहता है, and immediately he reconsiders what he is saying, and then next day as I come back into the scene, अगले moment पे या अगले दिन, when I am in a more sane kind of an temperament, कि जब मेरे को इस तरह का agitated mood में नहीं हूं, मैं थोड़ा शांत तरीके से सोच रहा हूं, when I am a little more calm in my outlook, in my sane kind of behavior, I wonder how I should like you to come to me. तब मैं सोचता हूं कि तब how would I like you to come to me. मैं कैसे चाहूंगा कि तुम मेरे पास आओ and offer to put me gently out of my pain. कि क्या उस समय पर मैं चाहूंगा कि तुम मेरे को इस तरह से मेरी जितनी भी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, जिस पेन है, ये जो दर्द है, उससे मेरे को छुटकारा दिलाओ. In the sense he is trying to say that would I really want it that way? Would I really want it that way? Whether this kind of a solution is really efficient as an immediate relief from their problems for the farmer. So last May you realize through the poem he has been very angry, very upset, very cross, very annoyed, very agitated. But in the last two lines he seems to be a little more understanding, a little more accepting of the situation as it were. But of course, he is very disheartened. So the mood of the poem is extremely pessimistic. It is very annoyed. I mean, it's that of an annoyed person. It is of a lot of expression of anger and hurt, but it kind of very clearly and in very sharp tones, with using very powerful phrases and words, he has kind of brought out the disparity between the rural and the urban areas. A lot of poetic devices have been used. Oxymoron का मैंने mention किया था. Then there is metonymy which has been used, which is figure of speech where one particular word is used as an attribute for the thing. Moving pictures याद है ना? Moving pictures for the entire theaters. In fact, I used to work for a company which used to be called Moving Picture Company. Okay. Enjambment, ये पूरा poem ही enjambment है. Like if you see, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer. There is no punctuation mark. It kind of moves on to the next line. So when that happens, that is called enjambment. Dramatic monologue. You know, you have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money and go along? So he's talking to an imaginary speaker. So that is the example of a dramatic monologue. Many poems like of Robert Browning are dramatic monologues, you know, where you imagine a speaker and you're speaking, you're addressing someone who is not really in the poem, but you're addressing someone like that. Alliteration, of course, you will know, pathetically pled, beauty rest in a beautiful, sound of a stopping car, SS, BB, PP kind of a thing. And of course, yeah, these are some of the poetic devices which have been used. I would write out the question and answers, which are also going to be a lot of effort. So once I do that, you should go through this entire poem with the notes. It will need a little bit of time because, as I said, Robert Frost's poems are not easy to understand. They're extremely complex, but I'm sure with this explanation, you have got an idea, and we will deal with the question and answers subsequently. Thank you very much.